So welcome back, friends. This video is going to be about study hacks for students of all age groups, and especially study hacks that I have used personally back in school, back in college, and the ones that I continue to use these days as well for my keynotes, for remembering large amounts of information, whether it's quotes or poetry or other relevant figures, and so many other things that need to come into absorbing the subject matter and remembering it. So some of the things that have worked well for me, and I encourage you to experiment with all of them. Okay, when you're done experimenting, so because without experimenting and just listening to the video will not solve your problem. So once you're done experimenting, let me know in the comments section, how did it go, what worked the best for you, and let's have a discussion there about the best study hacks that can work. Keep in mind that people have different learning styles. Some of you learn the best when you hear something. Some of you learn the best when you see something. Some of you learn the best when you do something. You learn the best when you see somebody else doing something. So these are the things that have to be kept in mind if you want to be a good student. I think one of the first things is when you are in the classroom, did you have a proper breakfast or not? This is so simple, yet it is often overlooked. Did you sleep well the night before? Did you just wake up and just walked into the classroom immediately, or did you have some time to get your mind warmed up a little? So it's very important the right nutrition. It's very important that you are in the right frame of mind. It's very important that you have the tools, the paper, the note taking and other things. If you're taking audio notes in the class, I encourage you to do that as well. If your environment permits, that you can record the audio of it and come back and listen. But these are the top 5 things that have worked for me. Let's begin. Number 1, this hack is called being the newsreader. So what I used to do as a kid was, so if some part was very difficult for me to understand, I would pretend to be a newsreader who's trying to inform the public about that particular topic. So I learn the best when I walk and learn, right? I find it very difficult to sit down and learn, although I can do it, for some amount of time. But if I have to really absorb the material, I, take my book or my notebook or my flashcards in my hand, and I walk a lot. So try this, okay? Experiment with this. Instead of sitting down and learning, try walking around. Second is, if a subject is hard to grasp, try to be the newsreader and read it out. And in the process of reading it out properly to other people, you will have more clarity about it, or you will have clarity about the parts about which you do not have clarity, which are not making sense to you, right? And that's the only way you will discover. Otherwise, a chapter can stare back at you and you will feel afraid, and I'm not getting this. The only way to get it is to attack it piece by piece, paragraph by paragraph, walk around, read it out aloud. This could probably not be applicable to mathematics, but if you are reading it out, it suddenly starts making much more sense. Number 2 is the technique to learn to teach. And what I mean by learning to teach is that pretend to be after you've done step 1, after you have some amount of understanding of that subject, I don't know, take a whiteboard, blackboard, or just sit down, or just pretend to be the teacher for the subject, write something on social media, write a flashcard for yourself, right? If you now put yourself in the frame of, if I'm to share this chapter with another student, let's assume now you've understood the chapter and you want a stronger grasp. Think, if I have to help a friend who has not understood this chapter, one of my friends in the class who's not understood this chapter, how will I teach them? What will I tell them? By mentally pushing yourself into this position of being a teacher now to your friend, from your understanding, is going to strengthen your grasp on the material. Number 3, mind maps. I use mind mapping all the time. You can watch other videos to know what mind mapping is, but usually take a card like this that you can carry with yourself, put the central idea in the middle, okay, whatever it is. Let's say you're reading about combustion engines, how internal combustion engines work, for example. You put the central idea in the middle, and then all the other ideas on the side, and then other sub-ideas in a visual sort of chart, that so you can look at it and see how these things interconnect. See, the human mind understands and retains information by making connections. By making what? Connections. It's only when one piece of information connects to the other, it starts making sense. Otherwise, it's very hard to memorize these things on their own. So mind maps specifically will now help you make the connections. So you're not just preparing for the exam, you're also preparing for life, because you know how this thing works outside the textbook, right? What its real world connections are. So you with me so far? Tool number one is to pretend to be the newsreader who's just reading the information out loud, even if some of the words you don't know the meaning of, you don't know the pronunciation of, or some of the concepts you do not understand. Just read it out. This will flesh out sort of the things that are making sense to you and the things that are not making sense to you. So you will know where you stand. You'll be better prepared. Step two, push yourself into the mindset of somebody who wants to teach this concept to another student. Let's say you want to transfer this information to a friend of yours who's not understood. How will you teach that person, him or her? What are you going to tell them? What examples will you be able to give them? How will you clarify this concept to them? Once you push yourself into this position, suddenly other neurons are going to fire in your brain and the material is going to make a lot more sense to you. Number three, mind maps. As soon as the concept has now become a lot more clearer, sit down with a blank sheet of paper, put the central idea in the middle and all the other sub-ideas out there along with examples and everything. This is a visual tool. Some people learn well visually. So you have to create your own mind map. I encourage you to do it using different sorts of colors of pens and things like that. So you know, or some of you can also use the help of online tools in order to make mind maps. Number four, and this worked excellent for me, is audio notes. What's number four? Audio notes. I'm pretty sure all of you either have access to a smartphone or some device where you can record yourself. Okay, so let's say it's biology or chemistry or any other subject that you're struggling with. Here, this is what I want you to do. Chapter 1, if you've finished, sit down with yourself, note down the most important concepts and record yourself, right? If you're somebody like me, you find speaking a lot more easier than writing, all right? So you just speak out your ideas and record yourself. Save that file, chapter number 1. You do it same for chapter 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very soon, what you will have is all the 10 chapters and you have the main points in an audio file. And let's say it takes 40 minutes for you to get from the school to back home or from home to school, 40 minutes in the bus. You know, put your audio file on and recap your main points. Or wake up 40 minutes early in the morning, recap your main points. And that exactly is my point number 5. There is nothing that beats solid recaps. And I do my recaps with music at times, and music and movement. This might work for you, this might not work for you, but it works for me excellent in a great way. When I use music and movement to do my recaps of whatever the information I'm trying to absorb, I suddenly discover that I absorb a lot more. But recaps are very important because, I don't know, but the research says that you forget 80% of what you learn in 24 hours if you don't recap. That's huge. Even if the numbers are not, you know, I mean, I'm not sure of the study of this, the source of this study, but I've heard this very often, that human beings forget almost 80% of the information, new information that you learned in 24 hours if you do not revise it, if you do not recap it. So you need a system for recap. Is that a yes or no? Yeah, we need a system. And your system is, how do you recap? It's about smart work, not hard work. You do your recaps by listening to your audio notes again and again. Okay, the ones that you created in your own voice from your own understanding. So your brain is now becoming even more clearer, even more certain, even more sure of that information. You do your recaps using your visual mind maps, right? You do your recaps by pretending to be the teacher or a newsreader of the subject. These 5 hacks have worked beautifully for me over the years, all the way from my school days to now as an international keynote speaker. I hope they work well for you, but you will only discover if you experiment and you find out for yourself. Let me know in the comment section which one worked the best for you. And thanks for tuning in. And also, to all the young students, let us know what sort of videos would you like us to create? What are you struggling with at the moment? And if you like this video, share it with a friend in your school or college. Thanks for tuning in.